First on BBC One, Prince Andrew becomes part of Jimmy Savile's dream team.
The American Central Intelligence Agency has been accused of manipulating citizens of countries all over the world, including Canada. At the moment, a number of Canadians are considering suing the CIA. They believe they are victims of covert CIA experiments. Americans became obsessed with brainwashing during the Korean War. Prisoners of war returned home denouncing the American way of life. Hearing them parroting propaganda, the CIA became convinced the communists had found the key to brainwashing.
Dr. Cameron developed a treatment he called depatterning in hopes of curing schizophrenia. It involved massive doses of electroshock treatments, sleep-induced comas, LSD, and barbiturates. His goal was to wipe his patients' minds and then reprogram them. No one consented to being experimented on.
They gave them to me, but I had no action as to what they did to me or what.
It's like something from a Hollywood horror movie. A hospital where patients are given massive doses of drugs like LSD, intensive shock therapy, put to sleep for months at a time.
I was reduced to a baby and wearing diapers and being fed and, you know, I can't imagine it. I don't remember that, thank goodness, because it would haunt me in my dreams.
Stored inside computers like this one is what's left of the CIA files on the MK Ultra project. Convinced the Soviets and Chinese had perfected brainwashing during the Korean War, the agency sought to perfect its own techniques, both to protect its agents and to use as a weapon.
You've had a rough year. You've had a year that would test a lot of people. Illness in the family. A breakup, this spasm of publicity about what happened from Mexico to London.
It was pretty rough, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Ah, weird. Hello. Oh my goodness, hello. Ew, strong Brittany. Yeah, it was a weird time. Ew, I'm embarrassed. Can we stop?
With the love I have inside of me, we can turn this world around. We can live through all eternity, and we never touch the ground. We'll take a chance to ride upon a star to a place that's far away. The light of love will shine on us forever and a day. In the desert sun, cordon cactus come undone. Blessed rainfall on my tongue, wasting waves. Giant cactus, desert sun, caught in blessed rain. Waves of lost fall from my tongue. And fade away. Fever dreams of desert rain. Sweat-paint sand on night highway. Wake up to the sound of shame. Fever dream.
I know I said the skies in Australia were some of the most beautiful I've ever seen, but what's going on right now? Like, what is this? There's a start point, like here, and it's just like a ripple effect that is just scattered throughout the whole of Brisbane, going that way. If you're seeing this video on the same day, Thursday, when this video goes out, post your picture in the comment section, because I want to see what it looks like when the sun's setting. Because this looks mad right now. This looks fucking crazy, right? I've just never seen the light. There's even some shading going on. Look at the shade.
Well, they say politics makes strange bedfellows, but it also makes for some strange family ties. Some of President Obama's toughest critics are actually his cousins. The president and Sarah Palin are 10th cousins with a family tree that takes them back to one of Mr. Smith's of the 1600s.
That you are related, in fact, to Abraham Lincoln. Your family is that true?
Yes.
That's so cool!
Yeah. Oh.
And what a trustworthy family to be related to, Lincoln.
Yeah, no, Nancy Hanks was Abraham Lincoln's mother. So, yeah.
Look at that!
He's a, yeah.
So it turns out you're related to Angelina Jolie. You're also cousins with Madonna.
That's true.
So it says that I am related to Halle Berry. They say that Halle and I are 10th cousins once removed, whatever that is. So Halle is then cousins with Mark Wahlberg, who is then cousins with Madonna, and Madonna's cousins with Camilla Parker Bowles, which finally explains Madonna's British accent. She is Camilla Bowles is related to Princess Diana, which I think is fascinating. Diana is cousins with Tim Robbins, who is cousins with Richard Gere, who is my cousin. So Richard, unfortunately, now there's two reasons we can't date.
The Prince of Wales has grown up in such a privileged lifestyle that he doesn't have mechanics to choose for himself anymore. Everything is done for him. His pajamas are pressed every morning so that they don't have creases in them for the next day. His shoelaces are pressed flat with an iron. His underwear is folded in a certain way. The bath towel has to be placed in a certain fashion. Prince Charles does have his valets squeeze 1 inch of toothpaste onto his toothbrush every morning. On one occasion, he rang me from his library and he said, "Oh, Paul, a letter from the Queen seems to have fallen into my waste paper bin. Would you pick it out?" The waste paper bin was there. He was sat there. I had to bend down into the paper bin and pick out the letter, put it back on his desk. Will that be all, Your Royal Highness? Yes, thank you very much.
This is why it becomes so important to understand the novelty and the viability of neuroscience as being leveraged as weapons. We then have the use of nanoparticulate agents, aerosolizable nanomaterials that can be breathed in and disrupt blood flow or neurological network activity, that can be used as an in-close weapon, or perhaps that can be used as a more broad weapon of disruption and or destruction. We also have the capability to utilize nanomaterials to get electrodes into a head and to create a vast array of viable sensors and transmitters. This is DARPA's N-cubed program, next generation non-invasive neuromodulation, utilizing these techniques and technologies to create vast arrays of implantable electrodes that need not be put into the brain surgically, that are then able to read from the brain and write into the brain remotely in real time. And there is a rapid pace. The prizes are big, economically, in terms of power as well. But there are risks and hazards. Yeah, there are conventions that are out there, but the question then arises, are these conventions not just necessary, but are they sufficient? These international signatory treaties have suggested that no, they're not. They're really not keeping their finger on the pulse of the rapid development of brain sciences, not only within the United States and its allied nations, but internationally. And sometimes in programs that utilize commercial veiling to be able to then hide behind in terms of what's being made available to make their military intelligence personnel better, and to develop a whole arsenal of weapons, both kinetically and non-kinetically, that can then decrement the performance of competitors and adversaries.
Every player, unless they're from the same household, has to bring their own tennis balls so that you don't touch other people's tennis balls with your hands. You can kick their balls, but you can't touch them. I'm gonna blush, sorry. Of course, if you're playing with someone in your household, you can touch those tennis balls. To avoid confusion between whose balls are whose, you can use a marker, like a Sharpie, to mark out, to put an X or put someone's initials on.
Well, don't say you weren't warned. MasterCard and the United Nations are joining forces to monitor the carbon effect of your credit card purchases. And then you'll hit your carbon max, and it'll stop working. Hey, of course it's voluntary, for now. The new credit card is called Doconomy, and on the back of the card it's going to say, I am taking responsibility for every transaction I make to help protect the planet. This is a social credit score, and it's a proof of concept. The Doconomy CO2 credit card website claims it is the largest initiative ever taken by a bank in educating its users on the impact of consumption. They say themselves they want to set a global standard for carbon calculations. That's the key.
First off, a video. It's going to make you see the future and understand a wonderful future where we can use brainwaves to fight crime, be more productive, and find love. Let's roll.
Sensing your joy, your playlist shifts to your favorite song, sending chills up your spine as the music begins to play. You glance at the program running in the background on your computer screen and notice a now familiar sight that appears whenever you're overloaded with pleasure, your theta brainwave activity decreasing in the temporal regions of your brain. You mentally move the cursor to the left and scroll through your brain data over the past few hours. You can see your stress levels rising as the deadline to finish your memo approached, causing a peak in your beta brainwave activity right before an alert popped up, telling you to take a brain break. Your mind starts to wander to the new colleague on your team, whom you know you shouldn't be daydreaming about, given the policy against intra-office romance. But you can't help fantasizing just a little. But then you start to worry that your boss will notice your amorous feelings when she checks your brain activity and shift your attention back to the present. You breathe a sigh of relief when the email she sends you later that day congratulates you on your brain metrics from the past quarter, which have earned you another performance bonus. When you arrive at work the next day, a somber cloud has fallen over the office. Along with emails, text messages, and GPS location data, the government has subpoenaed employees' brainwave data from the past year. They have compelling evidence that one of your coworkers has committed massive wire fraud. Now, they're looking for his co-conspirators. You discover they are looking for synchronized brain activity between your coworker and the people he has been working with. While you know you're innocent of any crime, you've been secretly working with him on a new startup venture. Shaking, you remove your earbuds.
What do you think? Is it a future you're ready for? You may be surprised to learn that it's a future that has already arrived.
Instead, Mr. Speaker, this leader of the opposition, a former Director of Public Prosecutions, Mr. Speaker, so he spent most of his time prosecuting journalists and failing to prosecute Jimmy Savile, as far as I can make out, Mr. Speaker.
Why do you hate me? Well, I hope you don't. But it turns out quite a few people do. I'm Mariana Spring, the BBC's disinformation and social media correspondent, and I get trolled a lot. I've learned firsthand that the online world can be a breeding ground for hate. But why do some people behave the way they do on social media? And is redemption for them ever possible? In this series, I'm diving into my inbox and investigating some of the most staggering cases of online hate to find out. So is understanding, even forgiveness, possible when we take these conflicts offline? Listen now to Radio 4's Why Do You Hate Me? Available on BBC Sounds.
A new study shows the world's richest 1% account for more carbon emissions than the poorest 66%. What responsibility do you think the super rich have to act in a sustainable way as we see so many of these climate impacts falling on the backs of the world's poor?
Yeah, so, I spend about $9 million a year, so that I'm buying sustainable aviation fuel and to cancel out my footprint. I wouldn't claim in any way, that means I can leave the problem alone, because I should use my skills and money to drive innovation, so that this problem doesn't just get solved for my emissions, it gets solved for everyone's emissions. I hope more people of wealth get involved in this, just like, I hope they get involved in philanthropy in general and global health. I do think those who are the luckiest, and I'm certainly in that group, we owe a lot to the society that created that framework, and we should have a long-term view of how we make a contribution.
Interesting question, though. Dr. Hillary, morning.
Morning.
Morning, morning.
Front page of the Mail, playing off what Dolly Parton said there, NHS staff could be forced to have the jab. It's said that as many as 200,000 NHS and care employees have refused to take the jab despite being offered it and despite working in close proximity to very vulnerable, sick people. I've talked about this a lot, but I'm appalled by this.
Yeah.
And I really think it's not acceptable. And if you work in NHS and care work, and you're a potential risk to the people you're caring for, you either have the jab or you don't go to work, I think.
Look, we know that about 450 or more COVID cases a day are required in hospitals. So if you've got staff who are potentially able to transmit the virus to you, they shouldn't be in that hospital. Would you expect a surgeon to operate on you if they were HIV positive? Would you expect a surgeon to operate if you hepatitis B positive? No, they're not allowed to. So if you've got staff who could infect their patients, then they're not being professionally responsible. Now, I know a lot of them are not on the front line. I know a lot of them are on almost minimum wage.
But they're working...
It's irrelevant.
It's irrelevant.
If they're looking after patients, they should...
It doesn't matter how much they earn.
Patients by
it's where they're
inoculating.
working. They're working inside hospitals and care homes. And we know that 25% or more of infections are happening inside hospitals.
There's so many misconceptions and myths about the vaccine that needs to be addressed. We still need more education.
Every day I read such nonsense on social media about these vaccines from ignorant, ill-informed people.
Hi, perhaps you recognize me. It's your favorite president.
In his first video message since returning to the White House from military hospital, President Donald Trump on Wednesday declared that catching COVID-19 was a, quote, blessing from God that exposed him to experimental treatments, which he vowed would become free for all Americans.
I walked in, I didn't feel good. A short 24 hours later, I was feeling great. I want everybody to be given the same treatment as your president, because I feel great. I feel like perfect. So I think this was a blessing from God that I caught it.
Trump said that his use of medication from Regeneron Pharmaceuticals had allowed him to experience firsthand how effective it could be.
Now is the historical moment, the time, not only to fight severe virus, but to shape the system.
We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. It is an opportunity we have never had before and may never have again. So we must use all the levers we have at our disposal, knowing that each and every one of us has a vital role to play.
Now is the time to think what history would say about this crisis. And now is the time for all of us to define our own role. What is it that would make it so that history would look at this crisis as the great opportunity for reset?
The Great Reset is a welcome recognition that this human tragedy must be a wake-up call. It is imperative that we reimagine, rebuild, redesign, reinvigorate, and rebalance our world.
Can you talk about your concerns about deaths being misreported by coronavirus because of either testing or standards for how they're characterized?
So I think in this country, we've taken a very liberal approach to mortality. And I think the reporting here has been pretty straightforward over the last 5 to 6 weeks. Prior to that, when there wasn't testing in January and February. That's a very different situation and unknown. There are other countries that if you had a pre-existing condition, and let's say the virus caused you to go to the ICU and then have a heart or kidney problem, some countries are recording that as a heart issue or a kidney issue and not a COVID-19 death. Right now, we're still recording it, and the great thing about having forms.
That was iNewsSource reporter Chris Young, who joins me now with further details on Sonomics and its new sweet enhancing ingredients. And Chris, were you able to find out how the sweet mix additive actually works?
So Sonomics wouldn't actually talk to me for this story, but from what I've found from other scientists I talked to is that it basically, the ingredient interacts with the taste receptors on the tongue. And what it essentially does is it tricks the brain into thinking that there's actually more sugar than the amount of sugar that's actually in the food.
Can you see me? Do you perceive me? Do you have to be shown to know me? Can't you see your eyes shut in disbelief or mistrust? I know it's hard to believe, but it's worth the wait. A leap of faith is all it takes.
Yay! How we doing? Let me get this image right. How we
Sorry,
doing, buddy?
that opening sequence got me back into COVID-19 mode.
How we doing, my friend?
How you doing, Dev? All right?
All good, all good. How's it going with you guys?
Yeah, man.
Yeah,
same,
good.
Same old.
Yeah.
In the madness.
Can you hear me all right, by the way?
Yeah, can hear you. Yeah, maybe a bit more volume if you can turn it up a little tad.
Give me a second, because I think I'm using the wrong microphone. So
yeah, we do that sometimes on occasion.
Is that better?
That's miles
That's all?
better. Yeah.
Okay. I won't use this one then.
We're in business. We're in business.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, when you look back at them videos, it does either make you angry or warm the cockles of your heart with total fun and stupidity.
It reminds me that every one of those people should be facing the gallows right now. You know, now that even the Muggles know that the whole thing was a farce. You know, every one of those, especially obviously Piers Morgan, you know, pompous Piers Morgan saying, well, yes, everyone in the NHS should really, you know, infect people. No, we know that it was all a farce and they were trying to murder people. Yeah, every one of them is trying to bully people into taking that thing should be facing the gallows.
Yeah. And they're definitely part. They're definitely part of it, like they're part of when the pushing of Gaza and all the other stuff that's going on over there. And it's the same people, isn't it, that is involved every single time.
Yeah, and you know what, the far-reaching effects of all of this stuff. I'm starting to see it because I'm getting people phoning me up saying how depressed they are and how you know they're kind of lost because you know all this stuff is happening. They can't do anything about it. They can't talk to anybody about it because everyone's asleep. You know, it's just yeah. There's more going on than just the you know the obvious COVID-19 fatigue. You know.
Yeah. Were all these people you're talking about as well tapped? Were they all given the old arm spear, or are there people that weren't as well talking about mental issues?
No, the people who weren't,
yeah.
who are actually just, you know, after COVID, and then now we've got you had the Israelis murdering people in you know in Gaza. Now you've got the Iran war. Now you've got you know the digital ID coming. You've got all the you know, every week it
climate
seems like
change.
there's more legislation trying to just push us down. You've got climate. Yeah, it's just. Well, obviously that's what's intended. You know, simultaneous disasters. Yeah, that's the Illuminati card. But yes, people are starting to feel that. But yeah, there's more going on.
Insanity by 1,000 strokes, I would say.
Yeah, death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yeah, shitty box. Death by 1,000 boxes to tick.
yeah. I mean, they do know that.
The good thing about it. Oh,
yeah, it's all right, Dave. Go on.
Is there a delay? There's a delay.
There's a slight delay on your end. I think there's a slight delay on your end.
It's very slight.
If you want to go out, come back in. Go out and come back in if you want.
Okay, I can do that, can I? All right, I'll be back in a sec.
Yeah. Oh yeah, there is a. All right, see you in a minute, Dave. Yeah, there is a delay on his talking there.
All right,
just a slight one, very slight.
Yeah, sometimes it does. Sometimes when you've been waiting it back, it might give you a bit to catch up. Some people are saying in chat it's not delaying, but it is at our end, and it's difficult to talk because there's. Am I delaying with you as well, Chris? Or
no,
you're not my end either. But going back to what Dave was saying, the psychological effects. They know that people can't concentrate, and I think it's either 3 or 4 different.
3, yeah, I think it's 3 for
events.
There's about 10 at the moment, isn't there?
Hi, Dave.
Yeah, hopefully that's better.
Yeah, that's it. Your mouth's in sync.
Yeah. But what we're saying with Dave there that they know that people can't deal with 3 traumatic events at any one time. And they're getting psychologically, they're getting pummeled with dozens of these things. You know, is Trump going to nuke everything? Is he going to do this? And is it Trump? As if Trump's in control of fucking anything.
Yeah, and then in the middle of it all, they throw in space launch, fake space launch.
Yes, I guess the good thing about this is the stuff that I'm learning now about how the world works. Just destroys all this stuff. So how I've been able to help people is literally just explaining all the stuff that I've been learning and how you've actually got control about how this world works. So yeah, I was just talking to somebody an hour ago, just explains to them, you know what, this is how the world works. You'd have got nothing to worry about, right? Just go out there and play the game and play it consciously, and the world will start working for you.
Yeah, I would agree.
I would say it's difficult for some people, isn't it? Because I'd say we live on the edge of positivity, us three. For some reason, we've been born that way, and or pragmatism, whichever way you want to look at it. But if you're born with on the pessimistic side, it is, and you're trying to help people and change the world, it is very demoralizing, isn't it?
Right, but here's the thing: every block, you know, in your life, everything obstacle that's sitting in front of you, you know, that might demoralize you, whatever, right, is simply a mental thing. Okay, it's literally just a mental block, and it's just about the beliefs you just happen to be holding. Yeah, and you know, you can always get past this mental block. It's exactly the same as if you've got a runner, okay, somebody running, right? You'll eventually get to a point where, you know, you can't run anymore, right? You got no wind left, you know, your legs are tired, and you get to that point where, you know, one more step and I'm going to die, yeah? But that's not real. All that is a mental block, right? An experienced runner knows that they call the wall, yeah? If you push through that wall, right, you'll find limitless amounts of energy, you know, coming from somewhere, right, that you didn't know you had, yeah, and you can just carry on, which sounds like a trivial thing, right? But they did an experiment, I think it was back in the 60s, where they got 2 mice and they put them in these glass tubes and, you know, were full of water, and these mice had to kind of tread water to survive. Okay. Now, what they found was, on average, a mouse would live for about 15 minutes before it gave up and died. Okay. But what they did was they had these 2 mice, in the jar, and literally about the 12-minute mark, they took one of the mice out and dried it off, kept it out for about 30 seconds, and then put it back in the jar. Right. The mouse that didn't get taken out died after about 15 minutes. But the one that was left in, you know, put back in, have a guess how long it lasted?
I take it's going to last a lot longer than the other mouse.
60 hours. 60 hours. Now, I think the longest one was 81 hours. That's like almost 4 days. Yeah.
Treading water.
Every other mouse would live treading water for 81 hours. Yeah. Because it knew, right, there was a hope that it would be rescued.
Ah, right. Yeah.
And that was the only difference. Yeah. The only difference is that belief that, look, I've been rescued once, I can be rescued again. Yeah. So again, this idea of a mental block, right? It's very, very important. You know, if you can just push through that block, then you've got limitless amounts of power behind you, and that goes for everything. You know, if you feel you're not very successful in the world, right, and you just keep going. You know, don't worry about any of the problems or obstacles, or you just push through that block. Right, and
all the
you'll
voices
find
in your head,
limitless amounts of power behind you, or the voices in your head, whatever. Yeah. I said all this stuff I'm finding out is just amazing, and you know, you don't have to be naturally optimistic. When you find out how this world works, you can't help but being optimistic because you've got control.
I think what you've got to be as well, though, Dave, is open-minded that you can actually change the dynamic. If you haven't got that part, then regardless whether you're a muggle or whether you're into the truth stuff like we're into, you're still not going to get to that. Hence why a lot of people are ringing you up who weren't necessarily given the toxic darts. They were free from that, and yet they're still succumbing to this mental poison.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it only takes a slight change of perspective to literally change you from, you know, just a change of perspective. And one of the things that changed my perspective, right, is just a little nugget of information I heard, that you don't actually do any thinking, right? You're not the one thinking, right? What's actually happening is that your thoughts are streaming past you, and you're observing the thoughts, and you're latching on to certain thoughts that you want to grab hold of and assimilate. And you say, well, they're my thoughts. There's one, that's one of my thoughts. Yeah. So you choose which thoughts you want to grab hold of, right? Whether they're negative or positive thoughts, right? If you're in that negative mindset, then you naturally start grabbing the negative ones, yeah, and you take them on board. But you can just as easily take the positive ones. Another little nugget, right, again, that changes your perspective is that it doesn't matter what problem you face. The problem is the solution to the problem is inherent in the problem. So, like, okay, a maths problem, okay, a maths question, okay. The answer to the question is literally inherent in the question itself. Okay, so like an autistic child who's, you know, those autistic savants who can, you know, you give a maths problem, they can solve it without even thinking. Yeah, they're not calculating the answer. What they're seeing is the answer that's inherent in the question. Okay, so they don't have to calculate it. They look at the question, they can see the answer there, right? And you can do it too, right? So if I said, what is, I'll give you this question. What is 2 plus 0?
2.
I was shit at maths. No, I'm joking.
Right, it's obviously 2. I could say, what's 5,051 plus 0? It's 551. What's 2,205,000? It's getting, you know the answer. You don't have to calculate it. Right? You can see the question and you can see the answer in the question, right? Yep. The only reason we can't do that of any numbers, any calculation, is that we've been taught that you have to calculate it, right? You have to calculate it, you have to figure it out, and it's hard, okay? That's what we've been taught. So we don't naturally look and see the answer in the question. And again, that's not just for maths questions, that's for any problem, any issue that you might face, right? Whatever the issue is, the answer is in the issue, right? Yeah, it's just, sorry, I'm just going off because it's really sort of exciting, you know?
Well, in fairness, I mean, it's another thing to discuss, actually. Are there outside attachments, like we spoke to Jerry Mazinski about it, that and Master Lee Adsel as well, Chris, over a few years, where they attack you from through another person, if you like, as well, to draw you in. I know that we've gone totally off into a different detour, but
one thing I would like to add, right, is Dave, is like Dave was saying about solutions to problems. Often the biggest problems, the best
I was just going to answer my question then, but never mind.
Often the biggest, the biggest problems, the best solution is nothing, innit? To do nothing. You don't need to do anything. Yeah. You just fucking wound yourself up into a point of frenzy, and there's actually nothing to do. There's nothing there. I always remember that saying about children. I don't know who said it. It's not my quote, by the way, but you know, how to be a parent. First rule, leave them alone. Second rule, leave them alone. Third rule, just leave them alone. It didn't mean don't obviously do anything with your kid, but it means you don't have to get involved in every single aspect. You know, the learning when you leave them alone, not when you're hovering over them. I remember took my nipper to a playground. I'm not judging this person, by the way, but I sat on some grass and I was just letting my nipper play on the thing, taking a few photos, whatever. And there was this woman, and I'm sure they were lovely, by the way, and they had a kid about the same age, and he was playing on this same apparatus, and they were following him around going, why do you go on this bit? Why do you go on this bit? Do this, go on here, go on here. And you could see the stress in the kids, you know, you're just thinking, just leave him alone. He's fine. You know, he's got all this playground to play in. He doesn't need a stupid parent hovering over him, bothering him. You know? Anyway, sorry, Dave, go on.
Yeah. Well, one of the things I was going to say about the solution being part of the actual problem is that we kind of know that that's the case because you can't have a front without a back. Right? So you can't have a North Pole without a South Pole. You can't have light without darkness. Yeah. When you have a problem, the solution is with it. It's in there. It's part of it. Okay. And with regard to children, you're right. You don't. Leaving them alone is actually the best policy all round because children don't need to be educated. They don't need to be taught anything. They will. First of all, they know pretty much everything, right? Because they come into this world totally unafraid. Totally with full access to all this information. They just can't communicate it to us, but they've got full awareness that we don't have. We have it educated out of us. Right? You just leave them alone, let them have access to stuff, and let them learn. Right? And they'll learn by themselves. And we know it's true because of the telepathy tapes, which I spoke to you about last time.
Yeah. Yes.
I don't even think that we teach them to talk. I think the language just comes to them. I think it's downloaded to them. What did you think, Don? Because your nipper's a bit older than mine, but I watched this and the sentences start coming out, the words start coming out.
That's why they can talk before they can write, Chris.
Yeah. And you haven't sat there going, learn this sentence.
Yeah.
Learn this sentence. They just slowly start to come out of them, don't they? I'll tell you a funny one.
Language isn't what we think it is.
No, I don't think it is. I'll tell you a funny one, and this is totally this happened to when my nipper was born, and my missus got wheeled off, and I was holding my nipper, and I was looking into her eyes, and she was staring at me with those black eyes, just frowning at me, and I had this voice in my head, and I always thought it was my voice, but I don't believe it was. Right, I believe it was hers, and it was, "We're going to wind mummy up." And like laughter, and then we're going to wind mummy up. Like laughter, we're going to wind mummy up. And I was thinking, is that me saying that? I'm saying that because I would love to wind mummy up and use my child to wind her up. But all my daughter's ever done is wind her up. Like with jokes, like just to get her going. You've got a big nose. When she was about 3, she's like, we were driving down the road, and she went, "You've got a really big nose, haven't you, mum?" And the mum's like, "What are you talking about?" And because she reacted like that, we went to a restaurant, picked a big carrot up, and went, "This is your nose, look, mummy, carrot nose." And obviously having pictures, but all she's ever done is wind her up, and I believe she was telling me that when she was half an hour old. I'm going to wind mummy up.
People find it hard to believe that, going back to the telepathy tapes and telepathy in general, that it exists. If it didn't exist, why was there a word there for a start, right? That's come from somewhere, from ancient times, where they used to understand all this language before probably words were spoken, like an animal would when they meet and smell each other and lick each other or wherever, and they understand each other. So why wouldn't a form of human understand each other?
Well, there's it's been proven now, not in the mainstream, obviously. It's been proven that there is a primary perception. Okay, it starts with the Secret Life of Plants. If anyone's ever seen that or read the book, right? The Secret Life of Plants. This guy who works with lie detectors, wired up one of his house plants with a lie detector, and he started to realize that the plant was responding and reacting to him. And not only that, the plant was responding to thoughts that he was having. Yeah, he had a thought of destroying one of the plants, and the moment he thought of destroying one of the plants, right, the other plants started to react. The plants also responded to events, traumatic events in this guy's life when he was 20 or 30 miles away. So the moment he experienced some kind of trauma, the plants would respond and react exactly at that moment. So even between humans and plants, and there's lots of evidence of animal telepathy. Dogs and their owners. Yeah, a dog will know when their owner is just about to leave work to go home, As soon as the owner makes the decision to go home, the dog jumps up and stands by the door. Yeah. So there is a primary communication. And, you know, we know of it because we experience it. We've experienced the times where we go, I wonder what's happened to John, you know, and John phones up, you know, it's
well, ironically, Dave,
with your wife.
I was thinking today, I need to get hold of Alana Freeland. I mentioned to her, she just emailed me while we've been on here. And you can't just brush this shit off because you think, oh, it's a coincidence. But when you've got 20 coincidences in a day, for instance, it can't be a coincidence anymore. Once you've got, I'm not saying you've got to accept it. Accept it's possible is a start, I suppose, isn't it? For a non-believer.
Very first thing, you got to believe that it's possible. Yeah, you got to believe it's possible. If you don't believe it's possible, then you know your mind is very powerful, and it doesn't work like a computer, right? You program it with your beliefs, what you think, what you decide, right? And once you've decided something, now your mind's programmed that way. And okay, you don't believe in telepathy, okay, no telepathy. You know, it's as simple as that.
Yeah. But I mean, the word telepathy, I mean, we've all had strange events in his life, and you can't just, like I say, you can't just brush them off. I were in an accident, and I was driving up a road, and a car came out of its drive, and it was that quick that I never even saw the car. And the old guy actually passed away. Now, but he didn't pass away because of the accident. I think he'd keeled over on his steering wheel, put his foot on his accelerator after he started the car, and shot out into the road. That's what it seemed to have happened. But I jumped out the car, nose bust open and all that type of stuff, trying to get him out of his car. So I went around the opposite side of his car, and this voice came in my head, and it was clear as day, "I'm sorry," and that were it. And I just stopped, just calmed down, and I knew he'd gone. It left, and it was very, I don't know, calming moment that you were in touch with life. Really, that's what that is. Something they call it heavenly, but it wasn't heavenly. You understand what I mean? I suppose heavenly it probably was, but not in the biblical sense, if you like.
Yeah, we've been sort of indoctrinated into this completely fake reality. Right? We've got so much in the way of abilities and powers in this world, but you know, I guess after the last reset, they've sort of arranged things so that we've forgotten how we work, right? So, but you know, every now and again we get a glimpse of things, just like that experience that you had, right? That glimpse of, okay, I got information that I shouldn't have been able to have got. You know, how does that work? And then we kind of brush it off because it doesn't fit this model that we've been sort of born into.
If you choose to notice them, Dave, like Dom's experience and like the one I just explained with my child, which is a bit more silly, but if you choose to notice them, they are life changing, aren't they? Because someone else, that one that Dom just said, someone else could have gone, whatever. But if you remember it, it's then life changing because that's a life changing experience, isn't it? But if you choose not to notice it, like you were saying, it's gone, and then you move on to the next day, don't you? You know.
But that's a key word you use there. That's a key word, notice, right? Because I think the difference between us and the Muggles is that we notice things. You know, something happens, we don't just let it go by. It's like, wow, did you see that? And we go online and say, hey, you know what happened to me? I saw this. And you know, we get called conspiracy theorists for it. You know.
Yeah. But we're in a very what we're discussing there, Chris, is, do you know now people? If you think about what these tech heads have tapped into, something else I want to discuss. When you think about something on your phone and it pops up with that thought, or I mean, I don't have one of them. I don't use the smart things, but I know when people are talking about things, something pops up on your TV or your phone. That is their artificial version of that telepathy, isn't it? In a way.
I suppose, yeah.
Well, this is the thing. Technology. Yeah, technology is essentially it's mimicking what we can do naturally, right? So that we don't use our natural abilities. Yeah, I've been telling people that we have access to every piece of information that's ever existed, that exists now and will ever exist. Yeah, we've got access to all of it. Okay, so the internet is like the cheap, pale version of that. Yeah, so now we rely on the internet and not rely on our natural ability, which we perceive through intuition. That knowing without knowing how you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
that we've been told not to listen
to.
Yeah.
You access this stuff. Yeah. You can access all this stuff and you get it on this intuitive level where you just know something because it's the truth. But, if now we've got the internet, now we use that as a crutch. And it's just the same as if you've broken your leg and you're using a crutch and then your leg heals, but you continue using the crutch. Well, your leg's going to atrophy, isn't it?
Yeah, of course.
So you're now dependent on the crutch and you've got no leg now.
Everything in the tech world is named after these natural occurrences in the human body, or like, for instance, a memory card or a memory in a computer. Most of it is named after
cloud. Yeah.
What we actually either experience or actual biology, isn't it? That can't be by accident.
Yeah, well, I don't think it is. Again, it's to draw you into it. You recognize it, you start using it. The moment you start using it, it's when you get drawn into it, and your natural ability starts to atrophy. The telephone, the cell phone. Again, you've got telepathy, right? But it's much more convenient and easier to use than perceiving somebody's feelings from 100 miles away, right? Which you can do, right? But again, it's on that intuitive level that you might have to not work hard, but you have to think in a different way, right?
Yeah.
But obviously the phone is much more convenient. But the more you use the phone, the less you have access to that telepathic ability.
Yeah. Speaking of technology, I won't play that video again. Don't worry, Chris. I know you told me off last time.
You want a video or a picture?
This is a picture of this guy, Palantir, his CEO. We've been discussing him. I'm sure other people have as well. But this week, we were calling him a super villain. Have you seen the video of him, Dave?
He said he was like a Batman baddie, didn't we?
Yeah. Have you seen the video? Yeah, I'm going to have to play it, Dave, because
yeah,
I think when Mike Williams, I played it when Mike Williams were on, but it was towards the end, I think, so you might not have seen it. I'll let me try and dig it out. But this guy's the CEO of Palantir, which was started up obviously by the CIA's InQ Tech, venture capitalist company, with Peter Thiel. Who last week you'll have seen the picture because I played it. Yeah, the reptile. Yeah, he disclaimed that he was a vampire. I don't know if you've seen that image. I keep showing it, not Chris, because it freaks me out.
He was in the news saying Peter Thiel is not a vampire.
Yeah,
everywhere.
Yeah. I'll play this video, Dave, and then we'll discuss. Bear in mind, this is the company that is basically a data business that is now going to run the NHS and a lot of the governmental data and computers in the world, in world governments. They've got the contracts. This is who the Americans are using Israel to. They're using it with their AI. Do you know the school that was bombed in Iran? That was using a similar sort of AI that Palantir use to guide that Tomahawk missile.
As always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it. And I'm sure you're enjoying this as much as I am. Let's not talk to analysts.
I can't see anything. I don't know. Yeah.
Right? Our burdens of.
Can't you see it? Can you hear that or see it? Can't you? Can you see it, Chris?
Right.
No.
Yeah, I can. Yeah. Yeah.
Not all. Can you hear anything, Dave? No. Right. All right. We'll
No,
play
nothing.
That. Who was that? No. Yeah. You. Anyway. Okay. We won't play that then. If you can't hear, it's pointless. Anyway, basically, their technology.
Yeah.
He says we're helping countries, and occasionally we kill people. That was the last line in that talk. He basically said, and what they're making technology. That video I played at the beginning, you know, where they were using a social distancing video to follow people's movements around a town. They make that type of thing, but they're using it to pinpoint people. And let's just say you're fingered as a terrorist. They can send a drone on you or whatever. Yeah. And that's the technology that these people are making. Now they're controlling the NHS as well.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me because I think they tipped their hand when they bombed that school because again, if you got that technology, you tie it into all these data sources like the NHS, right? You can now once you've got all this software tied into all these data sources. Now that you can pinpoint anyone, you can say, okay, I don't like Dom today. He said something on his show. Let's send a drone down to his house, or he's carrying a phone. We know where he is. Let's target him. It's a depressing world that we're in now. If you let it depress you, but again, I don't think it could ever. It's ever going to work for them. I can't see the world working that badly to allow these people to actually persevere,
Yeah. I'll try and upload these videos a different way, and then you could maybe have a look at it anyway. But yeah, so these, I tell you what I've got, Chris. Do you know that Trump's advisor, his spiritual advisor?
Oh, that mad bloody bent.
Paula White or whatever she's called.
Yeah.
I mean,
she speaks in tongues. That girl, have you seen her? I mean, I'm not being funny. If you saw someone doing that, speaking in tongues, Dev, you wouldn't really think they were on the good guy side.
Let's see if you can see this, Dave, just out of interest.
Alex, as always, we have a lot of individual investors on the line. Is there anything you'd like to say before we end the call?
We're doing it. We're doing it, and I'm sure you're enjoying this as.
Do you see that? No, Dave?
No. It just said, I saw a message that said my browser doesn't play this app or something.
Right. Okay. Right. So you don't get playback. Okay. That's.
Okay. I didn't know this was something. Okay.
Maybe you can unlock it or something.
All right. Well, I have no idea.
Anyway, sorry. We'll just talk. we'll just talk. Yeah. It's not an issue. So when you look at these people like that are put in control, I mean, that guy there, just to look at him, I mean, he's a modern day CEO. I mean, when you think of a CEO of a business, you don't think of that guy waving his. It looks like Willy Wonka. Can you see him, Dave, or not? Can't you see that image?
I'm assuming. I'm just getting the circular thing going around, saying that it's probably not going to come up. I don't know why it's happening to me because I'm not in control of this. This is all being streamed to me. So yeah, I don't know.
I'll describe it. I'll describe it for you, Dave. It's basically a guy with white, curly, fuzzy hair stuck up on end. And he's in like an office environment meeting, and he's going, "We're doing it," like waving his arms around in a white t-shirt, acting really zany and crazy. And we were discussing it, me and Dom, saying he's acting like a bloody, a Batman badder, basically. Yeah. And he's using his technology basically to target individual human beings, etc. And then at the end of the talk, he says, and we'll use it to trap people and possibly kill people. And then like cackles, and you're like, that's a fucking James Bond stroke Batman badder. And that's where he actually looks like. And it's very odd the way that they're doing it.
I suppose the question is though, Dave, right? So a lot of the times when we've been doing a lot of this genealogy stuff, and no doubt your research as well, I just want to ask you this question. The stories seem to be appearing not long after in the newspapers. So I'm not saying they're following me and Chris, by the way, or Mark Devlin or anybody else, but the same stories seem to be appearing that we're discussing previously on a podcast. And it's like you're tuning into something they're already going to release, or they're sort of heading it off at the pass. Have you experienced anything like that?
I have seen, that I put something out, and then a little while later, I see other places suddenly just pop up with it. And yeah, I think to some extent they're watching us. They're watching what we put out, and sometimes they're putting stuff out that will rebut what we're saying, or subtly rebut what we're saying. Sort of steer the content away in their direction rather than what we're trying to say about it. So yes, they are listening to us, and there is the point that yes, when you put something out there, now it's available like in the cloud for other people to pick up on, whether they know it or not. It's just the way this world works.
Yeah, it's as I think Mark said, it's quite a compliment and disconcerting at the same time. Mark Devlin said. But one guy said, just going back to it was Moopit, Jeff, our stalker, Chris. He said the 2020 download for him. He said this earlier when we were discussing it. We'd just gone on to something else. He said that it was a huge download in 2020. I mean, we'd all learnt something up to 2020, but imagine, Dave, if you were just a normie pre-2020 and all that download emptied into your brain and you woke up at that particular moment in time. That must have been pretty horrific.
Yeah, I can't imagine what it would have been like, because for me, I've got this information over the course of about 22 years. Yeah. So it's been shocking. It's been shocking, but it's been okay. You get the first big shock of 9/11, realizing that's an inside job. It's like, whoa, and you go through the 5 stages of grief. Yeah. But then you accept it and you move on. The next shock isn't quite as horrifying, right? And then by the time you get to COVID, it was like a little blip. It was like, oh, they're doing this now, aren't they? So so for me, it's been a more gentle kind of introduction to this, but to get COVID, just like that, from believing the world is real to then suddenly getting that must have been a heavy shock. But what I have noticed is there's a lot of people who got COVID, but because they haven't got the background of everything else, they're still kind of muggles. They're like muggles with knowledge of COVID.
Yeah.
Because when you try to introduce something like, I'm going to say, when you introduce something like flat Earth, for instance, it's like, no, they go straight back into muggle mode. Or 9/11 was inside job. No, it wasn't. But there are a lot of people who are, looking again at 9/11, going, actually, because they've had that switch changed,
All it did for me was solidify every conspiracy I ever thought might be a conspiracy. It solidified every single one of them, and then added more as well, even to a point where anything's possible. Anything.
Yeah, I found it very enlightening, Chris. I know we've talked about this before. Yeah. Like you've just said, it meant everything you'd thought were real, and you weren't actually gaga. Even though you weren't stopping
every
looking
suspicion.
into it. Yeah. Every suspicion you ever thought of was real.
And anything's possible.
I'm looking round because, hang on a second, let me see if I've still got it.
There's nobody behind you, Dave.
The thing that, because I got to a point where when I was looking at the monetary system, right, and I kind of found out why JFK was murdered, right, and everyone thought, again, I was a conspiracy theorist. So I ended up spending 7 because I was in America at that time. I spent $7 to buy this $5 note. Can you see it?
Yeah, vaguely. It's a bit blurry.
Can you see it slightly different? Oh, okay.
It's got red. It's got red in it, hasn't it? It's got red on it.
It's got red. You know, here's a normal $5 note. Okay. Well, you see, it's all green.
Right. Yeah.
And it says on top, Federal Reserve note. Yeah.
Yeah.
This one says United States note, and it's all in red. Okay. That note is one of the, I think it's 4.2 billion that JFK authorized to be printed as silver certificates. So that one in red is actually worth so much in silver. It's exchangeable for silver, right? And that would have destroyed the Federal Reserve. And that's why he got killed.
Bye bye JFK.
Yeah. So I bought that note. To basically tell myself, right, I'm not a nutter. It's real, because I'm holding one of the notes that he printed. Yeah. And this is what got him killed. Yeah. So yes, I just remembered I had it close by. So.
Yeah,
and also all of the presidents that wanted to change the monetary system back to the gold reserve all got knocked off. Was it Andrew Garfield? Andrew
Spider-Man.
Yeah, Andrew Spider-Man. Yeah, Garfield. What do you call Garfield? Anyway, whatever. But 2 or 3 of the and Abraham Lincoln, because he came up with greenbacks. Greenbacks he came up with. Yeah,
greenbacks.
Yeah.
So 3 of the presidents that wanted to change the money.
Someone actually sent us. Did you see that email someone sent us? Forget who sent it. And it was about all the people who were supposed to be on the Titanic who didn't get on it when it sank. Obviously, there's I think there's about 10 or 12 of them. I didn't know there were that many of them who didn't actually take their seat. And when it sank.
Oh yeah. I think John wrote about that in his book, John Hamer.
Yeah, I didn't realise it was so many.
Oh. Did you know about the person that did get on the Titanic? Okay, so 14 years before the Titanic sank, there was a book called Futility and the Wreck of the Titan, which described exactly the events of the Titanic, right? But there was another guy, and the name escapes me. There was another guy who also wrote a book about the Titanic years before it happened. Right? He described it in absolute detail, and he actually ended up on the Titanic, and he died there. so there's a lot of weird stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were a lot of shenanigans going on in the Titanic. I think that was that John's first book, John Hamer's first book, I believe it was.
I don't know. I've got it though. I've got it.
Yeah.
I bought that for a bit of light holiday reading.
That was another one of those coincidences, Dave, where we were doing a podcast about 5 years ago, Chris, and Chris, we were talking about the Titanic, and he said, "I've got a book here by a guy called John Hamer." And
no, it wasn't on a podcast phone. We were just talking on the phone. Actually, we were just chatting on the phone.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, John, whatever it was, John emailed us. He emailed us like within half an hour. Yeah.
Yeah.
I never met the guy, even though I'm from Huddersfield.
Okay.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Well, since we're talking about the Titanic, I'm sorry, just very quickly about Titanic. I've got this theory now that maybe not all predictive programming is predictive programming, right? Because the way I see it now, if you imagine the whole of time and space like a kaleidoscope, right? So you've got this little segment with sorry, if I do that, somebody's going to say, "It's amazing." If you've got a little triangular segment, with all these little bits and pieces in it, all these coloured gels and things, and you've got like an arrangement of mirrors around it, okay, and now you've got this infinite pattern of this pattern of shapes and stuff. If you think of that as the whole of time and space, okay, if you make a change in the pattern, then that change is reflected throughout the whole of time and space. So I call that the fourth dimension. That area of the pattern is the fourth dimension where you can actually make changes. The third dimension is the area with the mirrors where you can't make changes because they're just mirrors. Okay. So if you create an event somewhere in the fourth dimension, right, that particular event is going to be reflected throughout time and space. So you'll get reflections that come sort of, after the event. You'll get reflections that will come before the event. So I think, when they create these big events, you're going to see sort of echoes or reflections of those events dotted throughout time and space. Because
hence
time and
all the
space
rituals
is
there.
fractal.
Hence all the rituals why they have to make it ritualistic, because they're creating magic, aren't they? Every time they do something like that. I mean, we saw it in 2020, 9/11. I mean, we probably don't know what the ones were used in the Titanic, but they're probably, I'm guessing there was, ritual symbology and all that stuff to make it into a spellcraft, I would imagine. But
magic is only technology that we don't know about. Yeah, it's abilities or things, shortcuts that we don't know about that they can sort of exploit, and we go, "Whoa, it's magic!" No. I think if there've been events throughout history, like the burning of the Great Library of Alexandria. Right, so there was all this ancient knowledge. Right, there must have been something of value in that library. To have a massive library of stuff. It won't be about like recipes for soups and stuff. No, it's going to be important information that they don't want to disappear. Well, that library got burned, and the books that were rescued, right, and taken and hidden in the Vatican Library and the secret societies. Well, that's how they get away with magic against us, because they've hidden that knowledge away from us, right? And so they can use it to exploit us. That's how it works.
Yeah, and just like we were talking about telepathy, that'll have been hidden. There'll be people a bit to do. Hence why they were doing remote viewing and all the other stuff that they were doing. They weren't funding all this stuff so it didn't work. They already knew that these things could work. Otherwise, they wouldn't be putting all that effort into it. But then they make stupid films like men that stare at goats to try and rubbish it all.
Yeah, I mean, energy is a good example because we're swimming in energy. We're literally, the world is energy. Okay, you put a wire up not high enough, you're gonna get electricity run down that wire and go to ground. Yeah, we're swimming in energy, but they've gone through a massive amount of effort to hide every way of harvesting that energy, just so that we are dependent on oil, so that they can do what they're doing right now and choke off the energy of the world and hold everybody to hostage. Yeah,
and have you noticed
it's crazy?
Have you noticed they're not just talking about oil though? They're talking about lots of other stuff like helium, urea, that they use for fertilizer. So it's not actually just oil or petrol you're putting in your car and diesel. It's a lot of other things as well that's been choked off. And
helium,
helium, and they're using helium.
How are they going to do next space launch?
but they use helium, Chris, in I think it's MRI scans and things like that.
All right.
Yeah. So now they're saying there's going to be a shortage of equipment to scan people, and so they've made people ill. Now they haven't got the equipment to use. So you can see, going back to Dave's first talk about how many people are speaking to him about mental illness, every pathway has been closed off like a little mousetrap, a rat run.
Yeah. But here's the thing. All the things that they're saying that are going to be scarce or you're not going to be able to do, you can do it. The facilities out there in the natural world, but we've forgotten about it. We've been lied to about it. You just mentioned urea for fertilizer. Well, guess where you get urea from?
Yeah. Pea.
Yeah, it comes out of you every single day. You know.
It's strange because they were using again going back to global climate warming change. It's a shitty you can't see videos because that's some great videos to show you. But they used to put it in diesel cars, didn't they? They give you stuff, and they said it were pig piss. That's what they actually. I remember at first, but it was to stop emissions. It was slow emissions down, and they were using all this stuff that's natural, but bastardizing it into cars for global climate warming change. So now you can't. They're saying now that you won't be able to use your car, and now they're pointing everybody back to electric cars again.
We should run the same stuff.
Yeah,
just from over there.
Yeah, and you know, obviously the electric cars are the you know, designed to fail system, so that they can get rid of cars altogether. Yeah, so you know, the electric cars, they eventually say, well, we don't have the electrical power to keep charging these cars, and you know, we have to go back to you know, petrol and diesel. Oh no, we've got rid of the whole petrol and diesel infrastructure. Oh, well, we can't do it now. It's all, we just have to get rid of cars. We can walk. We've got bicycles. You know, you know, we've been saying this for decades now, that you know, they're literally driving us into a corner so they can exterminate us. That's it.
The corralling us. That's what they're doing.
When you think about it as well, is that why no roads are getting fixed over the last couple of years as well?
Yeah, what was the point? They're going to remove all the roads. The you know, Agenda 21 and 2030 is they're going to herd us into mega cities, and you know, outside those mega cities are going to be off limits. So what's the point of having roads to go from London to Brighton? Because you know, you're not allowed to go to Brighton anymore. You're going to be stuck in London. Yeah.
Well, anything outside Yorkshire's the West Ham going anywhere anyway.
Well, my last video was I called it you know, Fleetwood Mac was right. Yeah, because of their song, "You Can Go Your Own Way." Yeah, the thing is, the solution to this is go your own way. Yeah, this whole system is telling you have to do this, you have to do that. You know, but no, you don't have to do any of this shit. Right? You can go your own way. You can find your own way to live. Right? You don't have to ask permission from you know, somebody who is perceived to be, you know, higher than you. You go your own way. You live your own way. They can't track you. They can't control you. And that's the only solution now.
I remember
millions of people start going their own way.
There was a report done for the World Economic Forum for Klaus Schwab going back before the lockdowns anyway. And the report was that it was basically written with a tongue-in-cheek, but I think Klaus Schwab commented that that's probably what's going to happen. So remember, like a bit like so there's a mega city, then there's people living outside the mega city that aren't included in there. They basically opted out of the mega city. This guy he was a young global leader, wrote this report saying he thinks there'll be that many people question it. It'd be difficult to take them on, and they'll be living outside under their own rules. They made it sound like it were going to be medieval and all this type of stuff, but we know that'll be bollocks anyway, because there'll be too many clever people that are willing to push boundaries that we weren't allowed to push before to get things developed and built and things like that. So, like you say, it's designed to fail. What they're doing is they're going to fail. Because a bit like Iran, they've picked on probably the wrong country, haven't they? Or the right country to destroy the oil infrastructure, if that's what they want to destroy.
Because no, you know what? Here's the thing: how their system works, right? The leadership of Iran are their guys. You know, even though it doesn't look like it, even on the surface. You know, it looks like America and Israel are fighting them and they're arguing and all this. No, you know, the leadership of Iran, they go to their whatever version of Bilderberg or whatever, they get their instructions. and they're told, right, by this date you have to be here, you have to do this, you have to have this done. And they don't tell them how to get there. They say this is where you need to be.
I wish I had the video, Dave.
And
I wish I had
so
the video.
they're just playing.
Sorry, but there is a bit of a time lapse, isn't there? Wish I had the video doing the Blade table, Chris. I need to download that video. You know the film Blade, Dave, where they're all in vampires are sort of against each other, but they're all on the same team, if you like. But every now and again they fight each other as well. You know, it is a bit like that, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah. So you got Iran, and they're told to be ready for this war, right? The leadership said be ready for this war. But they didn't tell them how to prepare for it or what to do. So yeah, it's unfolding like it's happening organically, but the players are being told what to do, right? I truly believe that America wasn't expecting Iran to put up a fight.
It's like a game of computer battleships, isn't it? From above, it's like a game of computer battleship that somebody's controlling. And all these people, like, I don't know, the American government and the Iraqi, they've been put into position to have this, as Chris calls it, a WWF war game.
Well, when you listen to it, it sounds more WWF than ever now, doesn't it?
Every day.
They said, and if you remember them old 90s WW wrestling things, they used to talk that much, it got confusing, didn't it? And that's kind of what they're doing, you know. And he over there, I saw him in the car park, and he said something to my wife. It just sounds like that. That's all I can hear when
absolute nonsense.
Yeah. Just shite.
Because if you listen to it, right, Iranians have blockaded something. So how are we going to free up the blockade? I know what. We'll do our own blockade, because that'll work. A double blockade.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
You can get sort of caught up in the drama of it, of what he said and they're doing and whatever. But the net effect is that the oil is being choked off. It's going to have knock-on effects that aren't going to be seen tomorrow or next week, but 3 months down the line, 6 months down the line, a year down the line, right? It's going to feed into the Great Reset, right?
Yes.
Because what is everyone going to do when there's no diesel for the delivery trucks to bring the food to the supermarkets and all that? It doesn't matter what the drama is on the surface. That's the net effect.
Yeah, I would agree with that, Dev.
Yeah, there's obviously some kind of we talk about the trading places dollar bet, that they can create this situation for nothing. They're doing it for their own enjoyment. It's not, and I use I don't mean Donald Trump. He's probably as much of a pawn as Tony Blair and all the other people. But whoever's controlling all this, it's like they've had the trading places dollar bet.
Yeah, I would agree with that as well.
Pretty much. Well, yeah, it's again, if you can look at it as extremely rich board people, right, saying, well, we've got all the money, we've done all the jet skiing we can do, what else can we do? Yeah, let's take over the world. But no, it's a bit darker than that, There's been a plan for thousands of years, right, to exterminate humans, and that's it, But yeah, I don't think it's going to happen, right? Because humans are extremely resilient. Yeah, you can put people in a worse situation, and you'll find that they will find solutions. They'll find ways of doing things that nobody could ever have imagined. We've got this creative intelligence, right? That means that we'll come up with a solution that, their AI can't even predict. So I don't think it's ever gonna take off.
Well, the strange thing is, their technology, they must know that when they release this tech, like the internet, for instance, that lunatics like us were going to start learning all this information at us fingertips. They must have built that in somewhere, or maybe they didn't know how many people or how much information we would garner from the internet, for argument's sake, and all the podcasts that we can do to generate. They dislike this because otherwise they wouldn't be turning people's accounts off and things like that during 2020. So they must have built in somewhere, Dave, that people like us were going to talk about all this and do all this research, write books, etc. Or do we give them too much credit?
Remember what I said? Well, remember what I said about, whenever there's a front, there's got to be a back. Yeah, there's the North Pole, there has to be a South Pole. Yeah.
Yes.
If they put this, they're trying to put in a system. There's going to be there's an equal and opposite, reaction to it. And I've said this before. This is what the architect's speech in the Matrix 2. That's what that speech was about. He basically said, the architect said that they have to allow those people who wake up in the Matrix to escape into their own little bubble, in that case Zion, because if they leave them in place, then they'll destroy the Matrix from within. So that's what the truth movement is. We've been allowed to have our own websites and our little Facebook groups and Telegram groups and whatever. And it's been that little bubble because you end up talking to other people who know what you're talking about. You don't get out to the muggles, right? Because they don't get to hear what you've got to say because you're now safely protected, or not protected, but
in your truth prison
off, yeah. And then the architect basically says, then we destroy that. Yeah, we destroy their Zion. So that's what's been happening. We've been, in our little echo chamber, yelling, and every now and again we get some muggles who understand or hear it and maybe pass it on, but it's not getting out to the masses out there. They've planned for it, but again, they can't plan for or allow for human creativity, the human factor. Yeah, they can't beat that. They think they can, but they're not going to.
Yeah, we're having a conversation, me, Chris, Mark, and a couple of other lads on email, saying, let's spin it around the other way, and is it us though that isn't human, not them? Have we been placed here to be the fly in the ointment, so to speak? So we're their enemy, if you like. Is that a possibility as well? I mean, I know we're spinning it round, and I'm not being facetious when I say it, but more an interesting concept anyway.
Well, the more I look into it, the more I'm convinced that the Old Testament is a story. It's the book that is there it's called the Book of Remembrance because, it's enhanced, or in this book, it's saying that, people are going to forget what's going on. And this book is here to remind people in the last days what it's all about. And as I said, that book tells you that, there was a human, Adam. He's meant to be here, and you've got these, half human, half angel hybrids that aren't meant to be here, but they hate each other, or one hates the Nephilim hates humans, and they're going to try and destroy them. They're going to hate them till the end of the earth. And as I say, the whole story is written in that book, beginning to end. Right? And so I can point to where we are in the book right now, and the book tells you that they're not going to win this, and it tells you how they're not going to win this.
Do you think we're in the point of tribulation, Dev? Is it 7 years of trouble?
That's New Testament. Now the New Testament, right. Yeah, the New Testament. I believe the New Testament is coded information for the other side, right? So for what they need to implement in the last days, right? So it's not the Most High who's trying to bring in the mark of the beast. This idea that you know, you're going to have a mark of some kind that will allow you to buy and sell. Yeah, we can see that coming, can't we? You know,
Yeah.
And I think I've also mentioned there's a line in Revelations that says, "By thy sorceries shall the whole earth be deceived." And you know, the word sorceries is the word pharmakia. So by thy pharmakia, by thy pharmaceuticals, shall the whole world be deceived. And I think we've just lived through that. Yeah.
Yes.
I think we still are.
Yeah. Yeah. So the New Testament is coded information about what they want to have happen. The Old Testament is information about what will happen, or what has and will happen.
So where do you think we are at this point, Dev?
Right. Well, there's a book that was taken out of the King James 1611 called Second Esdras, and there's a lot of people who say, "Oh, Second Esdras isn't real" and all that, but it tells you so much that you know, I can't deny that. I think it's absolutely real. It tells you what this earth is like, you know, or would be like in the last days. It says that the earth will be overspread by a three-headed eagle, right? Which sounds all poetic, but the eagle is a symbol of a bloodline, okay? And that bloodline has 3 power centers around the earth, okay? And we know what those 3 power centers are, you know, Vatican City, City of London, Washington, DC, yeah? So religious control, financial control, military control. And between those 3 heads, the whole earth is under their control. So it basically says, very sort of shortened version, the middle head, the strongest head out of the 3, right, which I'm saying is Washington, DC, America, it's going to die on its bed. It's going to die without a fight, right? So that head's gone. It says the other 2 heads are going to fight each other, and one head is going to kill the other, right? And then finally, it says a lion is going to arise and rebuke the last head, and that last head will be no more. The lion, right? The symbolism there is the Lion of Judah. Okay, so it's a biblical story. It hasn't ended yet. And we're literally watching the end,
the action
of this. Yeah, the end of this bloodline. You know, because you know they know it as well. You know, I've seen news stories of, you know, I think it was something like the Brookings Institute trying to figure out what's going to happen to the world order after the end of this last 400 years. Right? So, you know, they're planning for this ending that they know is coming, and they're trying to get ahead of it. And
that is another thing, isn't it? That like our neighbours and people that don't look into any of this stuff don't understand that these people plan centuries in advance. It's not like you know, you might have a business and you plan 3 years for 3. Where do you think I'm going to be in 3 years' time? Or shall I go on holiday this time next year? Or, you know, they're planning decades, centuries in advance, aren't they?
Of course. The biggest example of that is Albert Pike's letter to Mazzini, where it says, "Okay, we're going to foment 3 world wars." We're going to foment 3 world wars, and then the First World War is going to achieve this, and the Second World War is going to achieve that, and the Third World War is going to start in the Middle East, and it's going to be the Zionists against the Muslim world, and it's going to. So literally, that letter, just, you know, which was written in sort of the late 1800s, literally laid out our future. So yeah, they plan way in advance, and I think it's more than a couple of hundred years.
Yeah.
It could be, you know, even thousands of years, which means that the head of this isn't human, right? Because you know, you don't plan, you know, 1,000 years in advance if you're not going to be around in 1,000 years, right? So so there are elements here, entities here that are fighting on the dark side.
Yeah. Where do we think these entities come from? I know we talk about entities. I mean, when we were younger, UFOs and things like that, and aliens and what have you. But I mean, that's fine until you start doing some research and realize that space is not what we've been told it is. But we talk about entities a bit like the elites. We talk about the elites, but I mean, you've mentioned the archons and are there other entities? Yeah, sorry. Are there other entities within this realm that are sort of vying for power? You know, vying for power, should I say?
Okay. Right. So I talk about dimensions. You know, I talk about the fourth dimension and everything. Right. So if you're in the fourth dimension, you can't really be seen by somebody in the third dimension. Or if you're in the third dimension, somebody in the second dimension can't see you, because literally you're beyond their ability to perceive you. Okay, I believe that these entities come from the lower dimension. They come from the second dimension or something in between. But it's funny that
was it the eighth sphere or something like that? Yeah, I think it was. Anyway, go on. Sorry, Dave. Sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so it's funny when I'm talking about these ascending to different dimensions. Okay, if you watch the film Lucy, okay, where this woman gets this amazing drug and she starts to use more and more of her brain. I see what she goes through at the end, where she can teleport and she can sort of manipulate time. I see that as what it would be like to ascend or live in the fourth dimension. Okay, you'll have these abilities to sort of jump through time and live in a different time period or whatever. When she first got her power to teleport, she could, she had the power to disappear in one place and appear simultaneously in another place. But she was still thinking three-dimensionally. So in order to teleport, she literally zoomed there rather than disappear and reappear, which is what she has the ability to do. She still thought three-dimensionally. So she thought in terms of, if I'm going to go from here to there, I've got to zip there. Yeah? Do you remember that bit from the film?
Yeah.
So it's three-dimensional thinking until you learn as much as you can about the realm, and then you can, your consciousness raises, and you're then able to then she'll be able to sort of disappear here and appear there, because she's now able to conceptualize that ability, right? I think from the second dimension, right, to the third, these second dimensional entities, right, they might continue to think one-dimensionally. That means moving in straight lines. It's funny that we call these entities angels, angles.
Angles, yeah.
Right? So they're moving on a set two-dimensional plane, and so they move. If they still think one-dimensionally, they'll be moving in straight lines, changing direction, and we might call them angles or angels. That was just a thought that came to me. Sorry, but I think these entities come from the dimension below us, right? And they've found a way to gain entry to this dimension, right? And yeah, these are these entities, and just put it, to put this in perspective, a dimension is a concept, a mental concept, because this place is a mental place. It's a place constructed of mind. So a dimension is a concept, and everything is a concept. But it's a concept that, because we can't grasp being three-dimensional beings, it's we have to find ways of seeing it that makes sense to us. So
hence why when people talk about it, they're ridiculed, and it's easy to ridicule them as well, because the masses can't conceptualize that this thing even possibly could exist. It's not that it's too scary for them. It's just like, you're talking nonsense. It's sci-fi movie time. Well, there's a lot of truth in sci-fi movies, because you'll find that most of the sci-fi movies, one, have got the bloodlines, and two, they're all occultists. So they know the secrets to start with.
Yeah. Terence McKenna, he talks about when he takes psilocybin, right? His goal is to stand more, right? Stand more in terms of content, not dosage. Yeah, because when he takes the psilocybin, he gets flooded with information, right? And that information has the potential to raise his consciousness, raise his ability to perceive, right, more. But it's so much that it's like too much. You start to freak out if you try to assimilate it all. So he says, he goes through this process of trying to stand more. But as soon as the more that you sort of gain, right, and this is what raising your consciousness is. It's just understanding different and new concepts that allow you to see things that you already know, but see them in a different light. Get more information, get more meaning from them. Yeah,
I don't want to ridicule this
nonsense.
I don't want to ridicule this guy, Gnostic. But I think it's like when the New Age and all the stuff that were bastardized and ripped off with the New Age movement. That doesn't mean to say that meditation can't help, or some of the things there didn't help. So you can't just throw everything out, because there's a lot of truth. Even if you watch the BBC, what better place to put the truth than somewhere where we know lies constantly? We have to accept that they've been hijacked, these things, and used against us. So we've got to decipher all the positive things out, the things that can help out of it.
Right. Well,
and I'm not. Whoever put that. Sorry, Dave. Whoever put that comment up, I'm not trying to ridicule you. It's just my take on it, and this is Dave's take on it as well. Go on. Sorry, Dave.
Right. Well, I'm just saying. The guy called it Gnostic nonsense. Great. You can believe that if you want, and that belief is now going to form your world. So great. Live in that world. That's great. But you know what? I'm looking at this. I'm researching this. Right, from as I do everything I research, I'm like setting apart from it and going, okay, what is this? Can I believe this? Is this real? Let me test it. So I was testing that idea of the wall, right? We all believe that once you run out of energy, that's it. If I carried on, I'll die. We believe that, yeah. So I'm at the gym, right? This was like a few days ago. I'm at the gym and I'm on this machine, right? And I do 20 kilometers on this machine, okay? And usually when I first started, 20 kilometers was just over my limit, yeah. So this time I'm going for 25, and I'm getting about 23 kilometers, and I'm flagging, and I'm thinking, no, this, I can't do this anymore. Got to stop, right? Then I thought, hang on a minute. If this is real, what I'm learning, right? I should just be able to tell myself that it's not a real barrier. So as I'm going, I'm saying to myself, Dave, your breathing is slow and measured. Right, you don't have to gasp. Your breathing is slow and measured. Right, your legs are feeling strong, and it's feeling stronger and stronger. And I stopped panting, and I just started breathing normally. And I thought, oh, I can actually breathe normally. So I was saying my heart rate is getting slower and slower, and your breathing is low and measured. And yeah, I looked at the display on the machine, and my heart rate was going down. Right, my legs didn't feel like they were burning, and I just carried on. And I was like, I thought I could do this all day.
Well, I mean,
I'm testing this stuff.
High-end athletes use that flow state, and some would say it's because you're getting fitter or stronger. I used to lift quite a lot of weights. And same thing, the mind over matter thing definitely works. There's no doubt about that. That's not mean to say you've got to pace around angry. You've just got to zone into something, and it's somewhere here that means you can. If you think about walking around, you don't think that what muscles you are actually using. But if you think hard enough, you can actually feel that muscle in your leg working, or that your bicep is split into different muscle groups, not just one bicep, for instance. And you can actually connect with that area, and that's what you're doing basically, Dave. You're connecting with those areas.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. Last time I was on your show, I think maybe the time before.
I can't remember. It was that
a
many
year ago. Yeah. But I was huge. I was getting huge again. Yeah, and I've lost all this weight. I've got just because I thought, I'm deciding to do this. I'm not really doing too much in the gym. I'm not really doing, doing all this. No, I'm just doing sort of. I'm telling my body that okay, this is the way I want to go. I'm with my exercises and me just saying, look, I'm going that way, and the weight's just falling off. Right? Never done that before. Right, but now I've changed the way I think. It's happening, and just to say that it's not just the placebo effect. Yeah, I guess my most successful failure of manifestation, right, was when I decided I need to get a house, right. And as soon as I thought that, I saw something popped up online. There was a house being raffled, and I got this feeling I should enter this raffle, even though I don't do that sort of thing. I entered this raffle, and there was a video that went along with this house raffle, and it was the woman who owned the house was showing people around it and talking about it, and I got this vision that I was going to win this house and I'm going to meet this woman and we were going to have this particular interaction. And it was like, her name was Bella. And I said, and she said, hi, I'm Bella. I said, oh, hi, Bella, I'm Dave. Oh, you look familiar. Have we met before? And she'd go, yeah, I came to one of your talks once. And I went, oh, wow, how marvelous. I win the raffle and, now I've won the raffle and we know each other. It's like, wow. So what happened was the house didn't get raffled. Right? Not enough people participated, and it fell through.
That's how it works.
Later,
I always wondered. Yeah. I'm just saying, I always wondered how that worked, Dave. You see those adverts for those raffles for a house. I thought, but what if not enough people?
Yeah, obviously, if not enough people. Yeah. Not enough people do it, then But a month later, I'm giving a talk at a festival, and after the talk, I'm getting a pizza. I'm sitting there eating a pizza. And I'm talking to this French woman in my really bad French, and this blonde woman sits next to me, and the French woman says, "Oh, have you met my friend Bella?" And I turned around and said, "Hi, Bella, I'm Dave." And she goes, and I go, "Oh, you look familiar. Have we met before?" She goes, "Yeah, I came to one of your talks." I was like, "You're that Bella." Because I literally had that scene that I kept seeing over and over in my head, which I thought was me winning the house, but I saw that scene, and it happened in real life. So it's not Gnostic rubbish. This world works, is a mind construction.
In the 2000s,
you are a mind.
Yeah, I was working with a lady, I suppose, like a spiritual guide. I didn't go into it thinking that, but I went in open-mindedly. And one of her big things was just be careful what you wish for. And not about winning lottery or anything like that. Just be careful what you wish for, because, and that is.
I don't think that was her saying, Fat.
No, I don't think it was her saying. But what she was meaning was that when your mind's in that groove, if you like, that things do happen. It's not necessarily good either. Not things you want, not necessarily you didn't want to, because obviously everything that happened generally you want to happen. But I'll run a scenario, right? when I went to see her, she says, "What do you want to get out of this?" This was like early 2000s. I said, "I want to know why. Really, I want to stop myself getting into these stupid situations that I've got relationships with its friends or girlfriends or whatever that I shouldn't really be with. I want to see the signs before and accept the signs as well." And she said, "You do realize if you go down this path, most of the people that are in your life now, whenever you finish this, won't be in your life. You do realize that, don't you?" And I just laughed and went, "Yeah, all right, yeah, of course." Anyway, they're not. And it happened pretty quickly.
What about me? They dodged the bullet. What about me?
Yeah, sadly, I'm stuck with you. But that was my first
one that happened.
realization that these things could manifest themselves. Do you know what, Dave? One of the funny things, do you know, one of the times we did a podcast, you released it on your platform, and I read some of the comments with, "Who are them two, Beavis and Butthead? I wish I wouldn't interrupt Dave." It's brilliant.
We had a bit Beavis and Butthead, to
be fair.
I had a little example happen to me just recently, actually, because my car needed to be MOT'd, and I was like panicking because I didn't have very much money, and I was thinking, "Oh no, this is going to be a nightmare. It's always going to cost you when you go at an MOT because they're going to find something." Yeah. So I was thinking, well, look, that's me writing the script for this, right? I'm literally saying I want it to cost me money. I want it to be a problem, and I was like putting off taking it to the MOT because it was like, oh no, this is going to be bad. So I thought, no, you know what? I'm going to rewrite this. This car is going to sail through. It's going to sail through. It's going to sail through. But I kept having that thought pop in that goes, no, it's not. It's going to cost me money. And I was having this battle with these negative thoughts, right? And every time they came in, I was trying to reverse it. So I took it to the MOT, and I thought, well, I know it's going to cost me a lot of money, and I thought, let me transfer this amount of money because I know it's going to cost that much. I thought, no, it's going to sell through. It's going to sell through. So I took it to the MOT, right, and it didn't sail through. Right? And the guy said, "Oh, there's these two big problems, right, and by the way, if you want to get it done, it's not going to get done for at least 2 or 3 weeks." And I needed the car the next day. And I was like, oh no. I thought, no, it's going to sail through. Even though he said that, it's going to sail through. So I said, look, I'll leave the car there, right? And, if you get a chance to do it earlier, right, please do it earlier. I got back home. And I'd received a phone call because I left my phone at home. I received a phone call while I was walking back saying, we rechecked, the parking brake, which was one of the problems, and it's working again. So it's not that. It's so literally there's one little problem. It cost virtually nothing, and it was done. It was already done by the time I walked back. So
that was probably simulating the fight you were having in your head, that process there that you just talked about.
Yes, this is what I'm saying. Because if I was successful in saying, getting that thought through that it will sail through, yeah, it would have sailed through. But because I was having that fight, I got something in between, which ended up ended up on the good side for me, even though there was a little sort of bit. Yeah, I'm just saying it's really hard to change your mindset because we've been indoctrinated into this world to see things in negative terms. Most of the way we speak is in negatives. Yeah. And it's hard to retrain yourself to see the positive side, and speak in positive terms, right? Because your intuition, your creative side doesn't understand negatives. You understand the image that is formed in your head when you say words, whether internally or speak them out loud. Yeah. So you can't say, I want this pain in my neck to go away. Well, the image is you want a pain in the neck. Okay, I'll give you more of the pain in the neck. So you've got to say, I want my neck to feel healthy and strong. Yeah. So it takes a lot to retrain yourself to speak in positive terms rather than negative ones.
I would say that's why the news and films generally are pretty negative, to just keep us all in that low vibration and that, you know, I mean, yes, you don't have to watch the news for 10 minutes. I mean, they could very easily report on a lot of good stuff, couldn't they? Not just all the shit.
Yeah,
we tune in and
that's
watch
why you
it.
get the
It's
trolls.
amazing. Yeah.
And that's why you get the trolls. When you get something good, you get the trolls trying to say, no, that's rubbish. You know, that's what, you know, because they're trying to get into that negative energy and get people to think that way. And
The positive side of it is, there's a whole universe of very interesting mysteries out there. And then you watch the news and it's just,
have you been called that before, Dave?
No.
Well, that's a compliment, that, Dave. That's a great compliment.
That's brilliant, that, man. I don't know if it means the haircut or you're actually like Morpheus, but anyway, we'll take it. We'll take it.
Well, because of I say the last few calls I've had from people who've been kind of depressed, I was actually thinking of doing a live show, quick Q&A show, and if people have got like questions about how to deal with this world, I can pass on all this stuff that I'm learning. So I might do that. I might do that next week or something. I might do a live Q&A type call. Don't know if that will work or not, but we'll see.
Well, I mean, you can get it from the chat, can't you? You can get the questions from the chat, or if you want to do a call in, I suppose. It's something to try anyway. All right, should we call that a day? And
call that a night.
Call that a night, yeah. Till next time, no doubt, in a few weeks' time. We haven't got you in trouble this time, though, because we just pulled you in on one of those live nights, didn't we? And you were meant to be doing something.
Yeah. I didn't really get into trouble. But,
no. We know what we mean. Yeah. we had Guy Anderson. Guy Anderson were on, wasn't he, Chris, a few months ago, and he were getting some grief as well because we take the piss. It's like we're last of the summer wine. Getting bollocked off as missuses, you know, for spending too much time talking with your mates again, blah blah, you know.
Happens to all of us, doesn't it?
So no, it's good. It's good though.
It's all good, man. Yeah, it's all good. I'll play the outro. Just hang fire there, guys. I'll put us all in the green room. And okay, everybody, thanks for tuning in. Been another great.
Good night, everybody.
Yeah, another great chat. If we'll you'll be putting reminders out if you are going to do a live show on your channel, Dave, on your YouTube channel. Is that what you're going to do? Or that's what you're thinking of doing? Anyway?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. All right then. All right, everybody. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
See ya. Good night.